Welcome back to my channel. In the heart of eastern Ukraine, a new chapter in this brutal war has unfolded. Russia, once thought to be tightening its grip on the Donbas region, has now been confronted with a nightmare that few in Moscow could have imagined. The city of Pokrovsk has suddenly become the focus of the battlefield, and Ukraine has just delivered a strike that sent shockwaves through Russian lines. This isn't just another clash on the front, it is a turning point, a moment that shows how determined Ukraine still is, and how vulnerable Russia can be when hit at its weakest points. Pokrovsk is not just another dot on the map. This city sits at the crossroads of critical highways and railway lines. Whoever controls Pokrovsk controls a gateway to western Donetsk. For Russia, it was supposed to be the next step in their slow and grinding advance. For Ukraine, it is a shield, a lifeline, and a chance to bleed the Russian military dry. Over the past few days, that's exactly what happened. Multiple reports confirm that Ukrainian precision strikes hit Russian positions around Pokrovsk with devastating accuracy. Using Western-supplied HIMARS systems, long-range drones, and precision artillery, Ukrainian forces managed to dismantle command posts, destroy ammunition depots, and paralyze Russian supply routes. Explosions lit up the night sky, convoys were reduced to burning wrecks, and entire battalion groups found themselves cut off and disoriented. What Russia thought would be a staging ground for their next offensive turned into a killing zone. The losses were staggering. Dozens of armored vehicles were reduced to twisted metal, rocket launchers destroyed before they could even fire, and vital communications hubs obliterated. Satellite images taken shortly after the strikes show black craters and scorched earth where Russian supply depots once stood. Ukrainian officials estimate that hundreds of Russian soldiers were killed or wounded in these attacks. But the material losses tell only half the story. The psychological blow was just as devastating. For weeks, Russian propaganda had been boasting that the fall of Pokrovsk was only a matter of time. Instead, their troops now find themselves scrambling for survival, abandoned in burning trenches, with commanders unable to coordinate a coherent response. This was not just an act of defense by Ukraine. It was a carefully calculated counterattack. The Ukrainian military has been using a classic defense-in-depth strategy, allowing Russia to advance just far enough to overextend itself before striking back with precision. By focusing on logistics, command, and supply chains, Ukraine is forcing Russia into a war of attrition that Moscow cannot sustain. Every time Russia pushes forward, Ukraine is there to cut them off, forcing them to pay for every inch of ground with blood and equipment. Pokrovsk has become a trap, and Russia has walked right into it. The reaction in Moscow has been telling. State-run media tried to dismiss the strikes, claiming that civilian areas were targeted instead. But Russian military bloggers, many of whom are usually loyal to the Kremlin, painted a very different picture. They accused their own commanders of incompetence, poor planning, and reckless disregard for the lives of ordinary soldiers. Videos posted online show Russian troops complaining of being abandoned, running out of ammunition, and lacking basic medical evacuation. One soldier described the situation near Pokrovsk as a slaughterhouse. For the Kremlin, this is not just a battlefield loss, it's a public relations disaster. Ukraine's success at Pokrovsk has been fueled by Western support. Advanced weapons systems, real-time satellite intelligence, and coordinated training have given Kiev a cutting edge that Russia struggles to counter. HIMARS rocket systems are being used to devastating effect, striking targets far behind enemy lines. Long-range Storm Shadow missiles are reaching depots that Russia once thought were safe. Drones are being deployed in swarms, hunting down convoys in the dead of night. This integration of modern technology with Ukrainian resilience has turned Pokrovsk into a showcase of how Western aid translates directly into battlefield impact. Yet, amid the strategy and the weapons, the human cost remains heavy. Pokrovsk itself has been under constant bombardment. Civilians live in basements, schools are converted into shelters, and hospitals are overwhelmed with the wounded. Volunteers risk their lives daily to evacuate families trapped under shelling. Still, the people of Pokrovsk refuse to give up. One resident told reporters, "If we leave, Russia wins. If we stay, Ukraine still has hope." Their determination mirrors the spirit of the Ukrainian army, battered but unbroken. The bigger picture is clear. Russia's overall strategy is beginning to falter. For months, Moscow has relied on overwhelming manpower, sending wave after wave of troops into the fight. But wars are not won by numbers alone. Logistics, morale, technology, and adaptability matter just as much. Ukraine has turned Pokrovsk into a textbook case of modern warfare, proving that a smaller but smarter force can dismantle a larger and slower moving enemy. Looking ahead, the battle for Pokrovsk is far from over. Russia is unlikely to abandon its ambitions in Donetsk, and more assaults are expected in the coming weeks. But Ukraine's strikes have already shifted momentum. If Kiev can hold Pokrovsk through the winter, analysts believe it could derail Russia's broader plans to advance deeper into the region. Some even suggest that Ukraine may use this opportunity to launch localized offensives of its own, striking at weak points in Russian supply lines farther east and potentially trapping Moscow's units in exposed positions. What happens in Pokrovsk will have ripple effects across the entire war. For Russia, the nightmare is only just beginning. For Ukraine, this battle is proof that determination, intelligence, and Western support can still turn the tide. And for the world, it is a reminder that this war is not frozen, not static, and certainly not over. Pokrovsk has become more than just a city under siege. It is now a symbol of resistance, a battlefield where Ukraine has shown that it can hit back hard and force Russia onto the defensive. The nightmare for Moscow is that this is only the start. Each time they try to advance, Ukraine finds a way to strike back harder, sharper, and with more devastating precision. And so, the world watches as the fires of Pokrovsk light up the night sky. A reminder that this war continues to reshape Europe, that the fight is far from settled, and that Ukraine's resolve remains unbroken. Russia came to Pokrovsk expecting a victory. What they found instead was a nightmare. Thanks for watching.